Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to the Wyfe Up podcast and YouTube channel at the same time. About to get started. Hello, and welcome to the Wyfe Up podcast. My name is Deetra and I am your host, and I am super grateful that you guys are here hanging out with me today. Thank you for stopping by. Oh, and if you are a visual person, I also have a YouTube channel by the same name, Wyfe Up. And so if you're visual and you like to see people as they're speaking, I'm a very visual person. So that's why I decided to do this. So you can head on over there if you like. And if you are watching this video and didn't know I had a podcast, which I'm sure you heard me say that, you can head on over to there as well. I'm on pretty much all the stations, I believe, or stations or channels or however that works, podcast places. Anyway, again, my name is Deetra and I am your host. And I just want to stop for a second and just thank God for this opportunity. And Lord, give me the right words to say. I don't want this to be coming from me. I want it to be just coming from you and your heart. So please use me as you will, Lord. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. So let's get started. Today's episode is called or titled How Divorced Women of Christ Need to Behave. well, I know that there's a lot of women that are divorced in the kingdom, and I am one of them. And so that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this video, because I know how I used to be versus how I feel God convicted me to be. And so let me just tell you what that means. It says in Titus, in the Bible, it says in Titus 2, verses 3 through 5, likewise, teach the older women to be reverent in the way they live, not to be slanderers or addicted to much wine, but to teach what is good. Then they can urge the younger women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled and pure, to be busy at home, to be kind, and to be subject to their husbands, so that no one will malign the word of God. Now, I know that people will automatically be like, subject to their husbands. They hear anything else I said, right? Some of you women, some wives, some women are like, did she just say be subject to her husband? Yes, I said that because that's what it says in the Bible. But that's not the point. The point is, it says, likewise, teach the older women to be reverent in the way that they live. And I'm pointing to myself, right? Older women doesn't have to mean you're 70, 60, 50. You know what I mean? Older women can mean you're 30. You're older than someone in their 20s, right? There's a certain wisdom that you're supposed to have as an older person to that person that you should be able to impart to that younger Christian woman. And so the reason why I was thinking about this is because I was thinking about how, first of all, how many divorces are in the kingdom. Like, there are so many people getting divorced, Christians that are getting divorced, right? In the kingdom. And it's just like, why? Why are so many people that are Christian getting divorced? One of the reasons is because we identify as Christians, but we live worldly lives, right? One foot in and one foot out. And so if you have one foot in the world in your marriage, or rather your marriage has one foot in the world, then what do you expect? There's a lot of things that come with that, right? But as Christians, not to say that we don't have issues and some of the same things don't come up, we just fight differently. That's really what the main difference is, right? Worldly marriages, they don't know who to turn to. They go to 1,000 different counselors. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with counseling, right? But what I am saying is that worldly couples will, here, to a counselor, here, fix this. And then it becomes a pointing match. You said this and you said this, you did this and you did this, and this, that, and the other. And then a lot of times you don't get anywhere. However, for some people, counseling really, really has helped them. But in a Christian marriage, we already have a counselor. Not to say that you shouldn't still seek counseling if that works best for you. But we already have a counselor first and foremost. It's really, really simple, right? Anytime something comes up in your relationship, in your marriage, the very first thing that you should be doing is consulting our Father. There's so many scriptures in the Bible that you can lay over your marriage. There's so many different ways that you can fight, but not necessarily have to fight each other. Don't fight each other. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you have to know where this is coming from. Anyway, I'm not going to go too far off that. I'm just going to say this. So what I was thinking about was, as I mentioned, I'm divorced. And what I was thinking about is, what do I tell people when people say, why did you get divorced? I'm a Christian woman. What am I going to say as to why I'm divorced? And to be honest with you guys, I used to just blame my ex-husband for a lot of things because it was easier, because it made me look good. It didn't make me look bad. It made him look bad and made me look good. Now, don't get me wrong. The things that I was saying was true. I wasn't going around making up lies about him. I was just telling my version of the story. And in doing so, I was leaving out some things, because I'm sure that if you were to ask him, why did your marriage fail? He might have something, a completely different laundry list of things to say about me. Things that I didn't do, how I didn't respect him, or, just different things, right? That I, as a wife, wasn't doing at that particular, especially towards the end of our marriage, when I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore, right? But after we got divorced, and anytime anybody, especially my relationship with God grew, and I just, wanted to be a light in this kingdom, and I just wanted to follow the Lord. And so, here I am in church and serving. And if someone says, well, I'm like, well, I got divorced because my ex-husband, da 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 da. And I just want to say that that's not right. If you are a Christian woman and you are divorced, you have to be very mindful about what you're saying to our young women that are coming up about why you're divorced. You cannot show, your ex-husband rather, doesn't get all the blame. He can't get all the blame. It takes two to tango. There's two of you in a marriage. Unless, like we talked about in episode 1, unless your husband is physically abusive, unless your husband is, molesting your children, it's time to go. Or if your husband is like a cheater, serial cheater, and even then people have been forgiven for that, so on and so forth, or your husband might be on drugs so bad that he's ruining your entire house. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the rest of us who we weren't getting along, you weren't getting along, and you thought you didn't love him anymore, or whatever was going on in your house. You need to stand back and just really take a really hard look at yourself and realize what it was that you did in this marriage to contribute towards the divorce. I've heard people say they were getting divorced because their husband didn't support their dreams. I've heard women say that they got divorced because they just fell out of love with their husbands. I've heard women say that they thought the grass was greener on the other side, and so they decided to go ahead and hop that fence. Like, I've heard many different, not related to the other things that I said. I'm talking about just, no, he didn't cheat. He's not abusing the children. He's not abusing me. And, he's not crazy. Like, he's a normal guy that people thought, okay, I married him, and things just didn't work out. So we have a responsibility, right? We older women, we women that are first of all, we older women, period. You have a ministry, whether you know it or not, and whether you like it or not. If you are a Christian woman, there is someone looking at you. Matter of fact, it doesn't even matter if you're a Christian woman or not. It doesn't matter. Even if you're not a Christian woman, there are people following you. There are people following celebrities that aren't Christians per se, right? You have a podium, you have a platform, and you have a ministry. Someone's following your kids. I mentioned before, niece or nephew, cousin, neighbor kids. Somebody is looking to you, co-worker. Somebody's looking at you, and you know it. Somebody come to you for advice, they're looking at you, right? Someone's asking you about different things. Somebody's looking at you. point is, you already know that, right? So we have a ministry. So as Christian women, I feel like it's like, here's the world and we're up here, not above them. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say, but what I say is that God puts us in a different, you're held to a different standard now, because now you are saying that I follow Christ, that he's my Lord and Savior. I'm on fire for Jesus. Okay, well, how are you living your life down here? What is your life looking like? What are you saying? What are you saying? What does your life say about you? What does your fruit say about you? So now because we have this ministry, even if you didn't sign up for one, you have a ministry. And we have a different ministry if you're divorced. And so by that, I mean, we have all these young women coming up, either about to get married, thinking about getting married, or thinking about getting divorced. And they're looking to you and they're like, okay, well, why did you get divorced? And if you're like, well, my ex-husband this and my ex-husband this and my ex-husband that and the other, da 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 da, and she might be like, yeah, my husband, you know what? He's not doing this and he's not doing that, and I don't love him anymore. And I'm gonna leave. I think I'm gonna leave. Oh no, don't, but you did it. So I shared this story again in another episode, but I'll share it again because I think it's really important. So after I got divorced, I moved back to the United States of America and became friends with this couple. And I knew of a couple, and they were on the verge of getting a divorce. The wife, I believe, was seeing someone else at the time. The husband knew about it, but he wanted his marriage intact. The husband said to me one day, he said, I like you. And I was like, cool, but I don't want you hanging around my wife. Like, whoa, what? He was like, because you're divorced and you're seeing someone, and I just don't want my wife to think that that's the right thing to do. And, when he said it, I probably at first I was like, I don't believe I was shocked. I wasn't offended like that. Like I might have been like, wow, that's deep to say to somebody. But I got it. I understood what he was saying. He was a man that was desperate to save his marriage, and he thought that his wife, who was already stepping out, he thought, well, you know what, if she sees that you are now divorced and happy in a new relationship, that might further push her over the edge. And while I'm not responsible for their marriage and what happened in their marriage, I understood exactly what he meant. She was watching me. She was watching my ministry. She was watching what I was doing. And I looked like I was good. Looked like I got rid of the starter husband. I was dating this new guy, or not new guy. I was with this guy. You know what I mean? And it looked like I bounced back and, God was blessing all this. But that wasn't really what was going on at that time. But that's what it looked like. And so if anybody had come to me at that time, and I'm pretty sure she did, I'm pretty sure she asked me, like, what was going on? Why are you divorced? And I'm pretty sure I told that same story. Oh, my ex this, my ex that, and this, that, and the other, and she was probably like, wow, I don't blame you for leaving. And I just want to say that is not right. I didn't tell the whole story. I did it because I didn't know at the time. At that time, I was walking with God, but I wasn't like walking like I am now. God didn't convict me at that time like he is now. So when I tell my story now, even up until 2 years ago, I was still telling that same story. What do you think that means? If a young woman comes to me or is looking at me and I'm like, yeah, I got divorced. I'm a Christian woman and I got divorced here. And so, and he had to go. No, I'm never going to say that again. Not never. I made mistakes. I wasn't doing what I needed to do. I wasn't the best wife that I could possibly be. As a matter of fact, I was doing things I should not have been doing. Under the guise of being depressed. Not guise, I was, right? Or unhappy and miserable in this marriage and seeking love in other places. I did that. I did all of that. I really did. Towards the end, I did. And I was just done. But I did that. I can take responsibility for the things that I've done. And I have to. And it's my responsibility to tell young women, hey, divorce is not an option. It should never be an option. It should never be an option. You got married with the end goal in mind of being with this man until the rest of, to the rest of your life. To death do you part. And I feel like women are just like, oh yeah, that whole death do you part thing. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think I'm gonna go because I don't think I want to be with him anymore. And that's not cool. And so I felt like this was super important to just, if you are divorced and you are a Christian woman, you have a ministry. There are people watching you. There are young women watching you. Please take a long, hard look in the mirror at yourself and say, what did you do in the marriage? Because if God said to you, did you give your marriage 100%? Because he already knows the answer. But if you're like, no, I guess I didn't, then that's what you need to be telling these young women. Can marriage be hard? It could be. Does it have to be? No. It really doesn't have to be. Because ultimately, who are you pleasing? Ultimately, who are you submitting to? God first. Marriage doesn't have to be hard. It's only hard when we are just like trying to do our own thing. And both people in the marriage might be trying to do their own thing. And yes, it might be hard. You might have got married and then everything was all sweet. But then the first time you guys lived together, you had to kind of figure some things out. That might be difficult. But it's not hard to get on the same page. It really isn't. It really, really isn't. And especially when you realize what it is that you're supposed to be doing, it makes it all the more easier. So we are teachers. Oh, also, I wanted to talk about bid, right? And bid is what you usually find with your kids. Oldest, usually if it's a girl and it's your oldest daughter, she does bid or biddy very well. Bid is BYD or BYDY. And that's the but you did or but you did it. So, if your daughter, your oldest daughter, or someone that's very close to you gets married and then they decide to get divorced and you're divorced and you're like, no, don't get divorced. And they be like, but you did. I did that to my own mother. Can I just say that? My mom, when I was about to get divorced, she was like, yeah, somebody needs to break the cycle. And I was like, it's not going to be me. And she was like, yeah, but divorce is not the answer. But you did it. Terrible. How terrible. But that was my mindset because I wanted out. And so I didn't want to hear what she had to say. So we have to be very careful because that was my mom. But I think if my mom was, I want to be careful how I say this, right? I think if my mom had caught me very early on in my marriage and taught me some things from a biblical standpoint, even though she made those mistakes. I think if my mom had come to me and been like, I messed up. And I shouldn't have gotten divorced. Or I don't think divorce is right. That would have been a different conversation that we could have had very early on. So that's something that I want to pour into my daughters from the time they even get married is this was not right. Divorce is not right. And there's consequences to that. That's another episode because I can tell you exactly what happens when the enemy walks in. When you crack that door open for the enemy to come in, he comes in to kill, steal, destroy, and he don't play fair. And it's hard to get rid of him, especially if you're not living right. Right? So like I said, that's another episode. So it says that God hates divorce. It says, I'm looking at my notes, sorry. God hates divorce. We already know that. So that's another reason why we as older women who are going to be pouring into younger women have to stress that fact because God hates divorce. So how are you talking to the women that are following you? I am very passionate about this because how we lead is so important. And like I said, we have young girls that are coming up. This world is getting crazier and crazier. We're starting to see the most ridiculous things in social media, on the news. I mean, like seriously, we have a job to do. The picture is bigger than this, bigger than us, bigger than marriage and divorce in the sense that The reason why we're to stay married and not get divorced plays into, I mean, I want to get this right, guys. Please forgive me. The reason why people should not get divorced is bigger than what people think. That's what I'm trying to say. It's way bigger than what you even think. People think, oh, well, marriage and divorce, God said, no. Because what happens is, when you get divorced, when people get divorced, okay, it divides the household. And now you have children being raised in a home without a father and with a single mom. And there being the possibility of now her introducing another guy, in and out of the house. I've heard many stories of that. But nonetheless, that nuclear family construct has been being torn apart for a very long time. And what's happening, you guys can see it all around us. You see these kids, our kids, not these kids, our kids in our lives, in our world, our kids, Jesus's kids. You see what's happening to them. You see what's happening in this world, and how they're killing each other, how they're killing themselves, how they're going through life not knowing who they are. There's a lot of things that are going on that come from not having that structure at home. And I don't mean just having the structure, because obviously there are people that are married that don't have the best home life. They stay married, but they're arguing, they're bickering all the time, they don't get along, they sleep in separate rooms. Like their home life is like, the kids are like, why don't y'all just divorce already? Like, come on, like, what is this? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about staying together, having Christ in the middle of your home, in the center of your home, in the center of your marriage, in the center of your everything, so that your children have the right foundation on the way in which they're supposed to go in life. You're training them up in the way that they're supposed to go. And a single mom can do it, and a single man can do it, but it's not to be done. That's not the way that God created it to be. And so when men started getting taken out of the homes for different reasons, that's when society started going like this. And if you're not watching, I'm doing the thumbs down. That's what happened. You take away the husband, you take away the wife. Take the husband out of the home, have the wife having to support the children, from every other aspect. The father might be paying child support, but, it's not the way it's supposed to be. We need to put that back together again. And so if you're already a divorced woman, what I'm saying to you is, okay, you can't do anything about that. You can't go back and change anything. But what you can do is pour into the young women like God has called us to do. But when you pour into them, be honest. Don't just sit there and blame your ex-husband. Be like, you know what? I didn't do what I was supposed to do as a wife. I didn't. I am as much to blame in the what is the word I'm looking for? In the destruction of my marriage. I can take my responsibility, and I wasn't doing what God called me to do. And that's why my marriage didn't last. And that is real talk. One of the things that I wrote down is I admire arranged marriages. Now, I know some people are probably like, wait, what? It says, according to the 2012 study of Statistic Brain, 53.25% of marriages are arranged worldwide. The global divorce rate for an arranged marriage is 6.3%, which could be an indicator for the success rate of arranged marriages. So I admire arranged marriages. I know in the Western world, we're like, nope. But what if? What if there's something to this? And one of the reasons why I believe arranged marriages work, I met a young Indian woman at the soccer field. We were waiting. Our kids were on the same team, and they were playing, and we just sat there and we were talking. And we were talking about our lives, and she told me, she was like, was she born here? I'm not sure if she was born in the United States or she came over from India when she was little. But her mom took her back to India, right? She didn't know what she was going back for. Thought they was going to visit some relatives. And no, she was getting married. What? She was probably, I don't remember how old she was. I don't know. She was young, 17, 18 years old. And she was getting married. She thought she was going to visit family, and they were planning a wedding, and she was getting married to some guy she had never met before, never seen before. And, it was arranged. And I want to say at the time when I was talking to her, they had been married maybe 15 years. And I was asking because I was so curious. I'm like, what do you think? Are you in love? She was like, yes, I've learned to love him. And we're best friends. It's good. Now, I know I've heard of marriages that didn't, in arranged marriages that might not have been so great because you might have had husbands that were abusive and the wife couldn't leave because it was just what she was supposed to be doing. But the ones that aren't like that, I was just amazed. She was happy. Her kids were happy, because it was a role that she had to play, and she knew what she was supposed to be doing in this marriage. In arranged marriages, the husband has a role, the wife has a role. They work that thing out. They have kids, and they do life together. What's so hard about that? The problem is, in the Western world, wives, we have a different mindset. And we're like, roles. What roles? What roles? We equal. No, you're not equal. Equal human beings. But there's certain things that your husband's supposed to be doing, and there's certain things that you as a wife are supposed to be doing in a marriage. You can't wear his pants. You're not supposed to do the things that he's supposed to do, and he should not be wearing your dress and doing the things that you do. Nope. No. That's another episode. We can talk about that another time. But I admire arranged marriages. I do. I admire the fact that they figured it out. They're just like, you know what? This is what we got to do. We have a job to do, and we're going to do it until death do us part. Why can't Christians do the same thing? Because the world has gotten in the way. The world is telling you, girl, you don't need to be with him. He wasn't Mr. Right. He wasn't the pastors. That last episode I was talking about. There are some pastors telling you that he's not your soulmate. And not some. I only heard one pastor do it. Married to that very famous pastor's daughter. And he said that. If you're not married to your soulmate, divorce is natural and all that garbage that he said. But what if we started thinking like that? What if we really got married and said, till death do us part, and literally was like, tag, you're it. You are stuck with me like glue, and we are not getting divorced, no matter what you say and no matter what you do. And that's it. And we just work it out, right? That's a possibility. It's doable. It's going to happen for me. Like, my husband can't get rid of me. Nope. I was blessed with a second chance. But I do not recommend that for anybody. I don't recommend divorce for anybody, again, unless you are going through something that is drastic, that is crazy, that is, so on. Then yes, okay, God's going to release you. But for the rest of us, and I mean the rest of us who decided that you were going to get divorced, did you, woman of God, before you got divorced, did you give your husband 100% of you? Did you do everything that you could possibly do? Did you turn your marriage over to God? Was God there in the center of your marriage? And then God said, walk? More than likely, the answer to that is no. You know it too. You know what time it is. Stop fronting. You know what time it is. You know you didn't do everything that you were supposed to do. You know that you was up in his face. You know you were being disrespectful. You know that you were just like, you know what? You're not who I thought you was. And he's like, you're not who I thought you was. You know you didn't treat him 100% right. You know in your heart that you did not have the heart of God, a Proverbs 31 wife. You know that you were not that. I know I wasn't. So when I'm talking to a young girl, when I'm talking to anybody, I've been blessed to have this ministry. I've been blessed to be able to pour into wives. It's what I'm passionate about. I do not lie to them. I tell them the truth. I didn't do what I was supposed to be doing. So as a divorced woman of Christ, this is the way you should be behaving as well. When a young woman, young women or women, period, come to you and they're like, why did you get divorced? Be honest and tell them, I didn't give it 100%. I didn't give it 100%. I didn't rely on God. God wasn't in the center of my marriage, and I messed up. No matter what your ex-husband did, take ownership for what you did. And when you speak that, when you're speaking life into these young girls, Be honest and tell them that they can have an amazing marriage and what not to do and what to do. Put Christ right in the center of their marriage. That's it, guys. That's all I wanted to say. Have an amazing rest of your day. I always forget to turn this on. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And there was another point that was on here really quickly that didn't make it in the podcast, but it says, let our daughters know that no marriage is perfect and that she and her husband need to grow together. And I think that's really important, that we need to tell our daughters, our young women, God's daughters. We need to pour into them as well. They have to know what to expect, and they have to also know who they can go to. Our God has an answer for everything, and our God can turn anything and everything around. We have to stop this divorce. We have to stop the divorce rate that's happening, and we as women of Christ can do that. Like, seriously, we can pour into our daughters and say, listen, divorce is not an option. This is what you need to do. Let me help you. Let me pray for you. Let me pour words of encouragement into you and pour life into you and into your marriage. And I'm telling you, it will make so much of a difference when we stand up to the plate, divorced or not, but especially if you're divorced, because you have some wisdom, right? You're in a unique position that you can talk about some things that some married women can't. But if you're divorced and you know that God hates divorce, then we owe it to God that we pour into these women to not get divorced, that they have to turn to God. I'm passionate about that, guys. Like, that is something that is super duper important to me. And I want to help save as many marriages as possible. I want to be a mouthpiece for God. And I want our young women to know that beautiful marriages exist and can exist the first time around if you turn everything over to God. So that's truly it, guys. And I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your Friday. Bye.